While the world scrolls past February 4th like it's just another Tuesday, the universe is orchestrating one of the most profound healing moments of the entire year. Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and self-worth, is about to form a perfect sextile with Chiron, the wounded healer. And if you've been carrying a wound around love, the kind that makes you feel unworthy, the kind that keeps you repeating the same painful patterns, the kind that whispers you're too much or you're not enough, tomorrow is your day. But here's what nobody's telling you. This isn't happening in isolation. Just yesterday, Uranus, the Great Awakener, stationed direct in Taurus at a degree that literally translates to, "A woman past her change of life experiences a new love." That's not metaphor, that's not coincidence, that's a cosmic announcement that it's never too late for love to find you again. And if you've been waking up with this strange feeling that something's about to change, like your heart knows something your mind doesn't yet understand, keep watching. Because there's one specific thing happening tomorrow that could completely rewrite your entire relationship with love, and I'll reveal exactly what it is later in this video. But first, you need to understand why the last few days have felt so intense, because what's building right now isn't just another planetary aspect, it's a portal. And 3 zodiac signs are standing directly in its path, about to experience what can only be described as a miracle breakthrough. The invisible setup most people missed. Let's rewind for a second. February didn't just start randomly. On February 1st, we had a full moon in Leo, the sign of the heart, of romance, of being seen and celebrated for exactly who you are. That full moon acted like a cosmic flashlight, illuminating everything you've been hiding about your need for love, validation, and visibility. For some of you, that full moon brought up old heartbreak. Maybe you suddenly remembered someone you thought you'd forgotten. Maybe you felt that familiar ache of loneliness, even though you're surrounded by people. That wasn't random emotional turbulence, that was preparation. The full moon cleared the emotional debris. It brought everything to the surface so that what's happening tomorrow can actually penetrate deep enough to heal the root of the wound, not just the symptoms. And then yesterday, February 3rd, Uranus stationed direct. Now, when a planet stations, when it appears to stand completely still before changing direction, it's at its most powerful. And Uranus, the planet of lightning bolt awakenings and radical change, stationed at a degree that astrologers have been whispering about for weeks, the Sabian symbol for that exact degree. A woman, past her change of life, experiences a new love. Think about what that means. It's saying that even when you think it's too late, even when you've given up, even when society tells you your time has passed, love can still find you. New love. Unexpected love. Love that defies every timeline and expectation you've internalized. That energy is active right now. It's crackling in the air. And tomorrow, when Venus meets Chiron, that awakening energy gets channeled directly into your heart's deepest wound. Your heart has been preparing for this without you knowing. You've probably felt it. Maybe you've been more emotional than usual. Maybe old relationship patterns keep playing in your mind like a movie you can't turn off. Maybe you've been thinking about someone from your past, or dreaming about a future relationship that feels both impossible and inevitable at the same time. That's not nostalgia. That's not weakness. That's your heart doing prep work. See, Chiron in Aries has been exposing our deepest identity wounds since 2018, the wound that says, "I don't deserve to exist as I am." The wound that makes you shrink yourself in relationships because you're afraid that if someone sees the real you, they'll run. The wound that convinces you that love is something you have to earn, fight for, prove yourself worthy of. For years, Chiron has been pressing on that bruise, and yes, it's been painful, but here's what most people don't understand about Chiron. The wound he carries is also the source of his greatest wisdom. He's not just the wounded healer, he's the healer because he was wounded. And tomorrow, when Venus in Aquarius forms that sextile, something clicks into place. The pain you've been carrying, the rejection you've internalized, the belief that you're somehow fundamentally unlovable, it transforms. Because Venus in Aquarius loves what's different. She values authenticity over conformity. She's attracted to the weird, the unconventional, the parts of you that you've been taught to hide. And when she reaches out to Chiron, she's basically saying, that thing you think makes you unlovable, that's actually your superpower. This is where the miracle happens, because suddenly the wound becomes the doorway. The thing that made you feel broken becomes the thing that makes you magnetic. Remember when I said there's something specific happening tomorrow? This is it, and this is where things get really interesting. While Venus is harmonizing with Chiron, Mercury, the planet of communication and understanding, is also involved. Mercury just sextiled Chiron 2 days ago, opening up the mental pathways for healing conversations. But tomorrow, Mercury squares Uranus, creating a shock, a sudden realization, a piece of information that completely reframes everything you thought you knew about yourself and love. What does this look like in real life? It might be a conversation that finally makes sense of your past. It might be a sudden insight while you're doing something mundane, washing dishes, driving, lying in bed, where everything suddenly clicks. It might even be someone from your past reaching out with an apology or explanation you never got, giving you the closure you didn't know you needed. But here's the most important part. This isn't passive. The sextile aspect requires participation. It's not going to drop healing into your lap while you scroll TikTok and ignore your feelings. You have to meet it halfway. That means if you feel called to journal tomorrow, do it. If you feel pulled to have a difficult conversation, have it. If your heart whispers that it's time to finally let go of that story you've been telling yourself about why you're unlovable, listen. Because the universe is handing you a key tomorrow, but you still have to turn it in the lock. The 3 signs standing in the path of the miracle. Not everyone will feel this equally. That's just how astrology works. Some people are geometrically positioned to receive certain transits more directly than others. And for this particular configuration, 3 signs are about to experience what can only be called a quantum leap in their love lives and self-worth. If you're an Aquarius, Aries or Taurus, or have significant placements in these signs, pay very close attention, because what's about to happen for you is bigger than you realize. Aquarius, the moment you stop running from your heart. Aquarius, let's talk about your pattern. You intellectualize everything. You keep people at arm's length. You convince yourself that you don't need traditional relationship structures, that you're fine alone, that emotional messiness is beneath you. But tomorrow, Venus is in your sign, literally sitting in your first house of identity, forming that healing sextile to Chiron. And Chiron is in your 3rd house of communication, which means the healing comes through words, through finally being able to articulate the thing you've never been able to say. The wound you carry is the wound of alienation, of never quite fitting in, of feeling like loving you requires too much work, too much understanding, too much acceptance of your weirdness. But tomorrow's energy is telling you, the right person won't see your eccentricity as a burden. They'll see it as a gift, and more importantly, you need to see it as a gift. The breakthrough? You stop apologizing for who you are. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. And when you do that, when you finally own your full, weird, brilliant self, the love that's meant for you can actually find you, because it's been waiting for you to stop hiding. Aries, the war for your worth is over. Aries, with Chiron in your 1st house for years now, you've been in a battle to prove that you deserve to exist, a battle to show that you're strong enough, brave enough, worthy enough. And in relationships, that's exhausting. You fight for affection, you push when you should pull, you turn love into a conquest because somewhere deep down, you don't believe it would choose you if you weren't constantly earning it. Tomorrow, Venus in your 11th house of friendship and community reaches down to that wound and whispers something you desperately need to hear. You don't have to fight anymore. Love isn't a war, it's a gift. And gifts aren't earned, they're received. The Sabian symbol at Chiron's degree tomorrow is literally a cornucopia, the horn of plenty, abundance, overflow. The universe pouring blessings into your life, not because you fought for them, but because you opened to them. Your breakthrough tomorrow comes when you stop pushing, when you allow someone to love you without needing to prove anything, when you realize that your existence itself is valuable, not what you achieve or how hard you try. And here's the miracle. The moment you stop fighting, abundance flows in. Relationships become easy, love becomes natural, because you've finally dropped the armor and let yourself be seen. Taurus, the liberation you've been afraid of. Taurus, you like stability. You like knowing what to expect. You build walls of comfort and security, and the thought of those walls crumbling terrifies you. But Uranus has been in your sign since 2018, systematically demolishing every false foundation, every outdated security blanket, every relationship or situation you were clinging to out of fear rather than love. And yesterday, when Uranus stationed direct in your first house, your house of identity, at that new love degree, it cracked open the final seal. The version of you that existed before this transit. She's gone. And the new version that's emerging. She's about to experience love in a way you never thought possible. Tomorrow, as Venus, your ruling planet, harmonizes with Chiron, you're being given permission to fall in love with this version of yourself. The unstable one. The changing one, the one who doesn't have it all figured out. Your breakthrough is the realization that security doesn't come from controlling your environment or staying in relationships past their expiration date. Security comes from trusting yourself to handle whatever comes. And when you trust yourself like that, when you stop clinging to the old story out of fear, the universe sends you something new, something alive, something that makes your heart race in the best way. The woman passed her change of life symbol. That's you, Taurus. You've gone through the transformation. The old version died. And now you get to experience love from this new, liberated, sovereign place. It's not too late. It's exactly on time. What you'll feel tomorrow and what it means. So what does all this actually look like? How will you know if the healing is happening? First, you might feel a sudden wave of self-compassion, like you're looking at your past self, the one who made mistakes, who got hurt, who hurt others, and instead of judgment, you feel understanding, tenderness, forgiveness. That's Venus in Aquarius. She gives you the objective distance to see your pain as part of the human experience, not as evidence of your unworthiness. Second, you might have a realization about a relationship pattern you've been stuck in. Suddenly it's so obvious why you keep choosing unavailable people, or why you sabotage when things get good, or why you settle for less than you deserve. The pattern becomes transparent, which means it loses its power over you. Third, and this is the big one, you might feel called to take a specific action, to send a message, to have a conversation, to make a choice you've been avoiding. Don't ignore that pull. That's the sextile asking you to participate in your own healing. And finally, you might experience something completely unexpected, a message from someone you haven't heard from in years, a chance encounter that feels weirdly significant, a dream that gives you clarity you couldn't find while awake. Uranus is still in play, remember, and Uranus specializes in the unexpected. The breakthrough might not look like you think it will, but you'll know it when it happens, because it'll feel like relief, like a weightlifting, like finally being able to breathe. The conversation that changes everything. Here's something most astrology content won't tell you. Healing doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like grief, because in order to step into the new, you have to release the old. And even when the old was painful, it was familiar. Tomorrow might bring up emotions you weren't expecting. You might cry over something you thought you were over. You might feel angry at how much time you've wasted believing you were unlovable. You might grieve the relationships that ended because you didn't know your worth yet. Let yourself feel it, all of it, because that's the release, that's the purge that has to happen before the new energy can move in. And then comes the conversation. Maybe it's with someone else, maybe it's with yourself, but there's a conversation that needs to happen tomorrow, and it's the one you've been avoiding. The one where you finally admit what you really want. The one where you set the boundary you've been too afraid to set. The one where you say, I'm sorry, or I forgive you, or I'm done settling for less than I deserve. Mercury squaring Uranus means this conversation might feel sudden, unplanned, even shocking. You might blurt something out that you didn't know you were going to say, or someone might say something to you that shifts your entire perspective in seconds. Trust it. That's the breakthrough trying to happen through you. After tomorrow, the new timeline begins. What's fascinating about tomorrow's energy is that it's not just a one-day event, it's a portal. Once you step through it, once you allow the healing to happen, you enter a different timeline. A timeline where you're not constantly trying to prove your worth in relationships. A timeline where love feels natural, not like a battle. A timeline where the wound you've been carrying your whole life transforms from a liability into a source of wisdom and power. This is especially true for Aquarius, Aries, and Taurus, but it applies to everyone who chooses to engage with this energy consciously. Because here's the secret that the cosmos is whispering tomorrow. Your wound was never a mistake. It was preparation. Everything you went through, every heartbreak, every rejection, every moment you felt unlovable, it was all leading you here, to this point where you finally understand that the wound doesn't define you. Your response to the wound defines you, and tomorrow you get to choose a new response. You get to choose self-compassion over self-criticism, authenticity over conformity, openness over protection, trust over control. And when you make that choice, when you actively participate in your own healing instead of waiting for someone else to fix you, everything changes. The people you attract change. The opportunities that come your way change. The way you show up in your own life changes. This is what the Sabian symbols are trying to tell you. The man who has overcome his passions and now teaches wisdom. The cornucopia of abundance pouring in through an open window. The new love that arrives when you thought it was too late. These aren't just pretty metaphors. They're promises. Energetic realities that become available when you align with them. The choice that determines everything. So here's where we are. Tomorrow, February 4th, at exactly 5:22 in the afternoon, Venus and Chiron form their sextile. The healing energy is available, the portal is open, the universe is extending its hand. But you have to reach back. You have to choose to receive it. For some of you, that means finally doing the inner work you've been avoiding. For others, it means having the courage to be vulnerable with someone even though you're terrified. For others still, it means walking away from a situation that's been keeping you small. The breakthrough doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, when you make the choice to stop running from your wound and start learning from it. And I know that's scary. I know it's easier to keep the walls up, to stay in the familiar pain, to convince yourself that you're fine alone. But tomorrow's energy is asking you, what if you're not meant to be fine? What if you're meant to be loved, fully, deeply, completely, exactly as you are? What if the love wound you've been carrying is actually the doorway to the kind of love you've always dreamed of but never believed was possible for you? The universe is saying it is possible. Uranus stationed on the new love degree. Venus is reaching out to heal the deepest hurt. The cosmos is literally rearranging itself to support your transformation. All you have to do is say yes. Yes to the healing. Yes to the vulnerability. Yes to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, you've been wrong about your own unworthiness this whole time. Because you have been wrong. The wound lied to you. The rejection distorted your view. The pain convinced you that you were the problem. But tomorrow, the truth gets to speak. And the truth is, you were always worthy. You were always enough. You were always deserving of the love you've been seeking. You just had to heal enough to receive it. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below, especially if you're one of the 3 signs experiencing this breakthrough. I want to hear what shifts for you tomorrow. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.